How's it going, guys? Sirius here. I'm here today to talk to you about the Abyss farm. Of course, needless to say, this farm is very lucrative, on the downside of being very hard. We're adding so many modifiers to our maps, not to mention we're running them 8 mod corrupted. So yeah, these maps are very hard. I would say this setup is ideal on tier 16.5s. It works very nice on tier 17s. And it might work for you if you're running it on tier 16s. However, it's not as lucrative, but if your build can't handle tier 16.5 or 17s, you can do it on tier 16s, it's fine. However, you will expect less rewards. Now let's talk a bit about the farm. We are targeting, of course, Abyss. What I do is I run the map. You want to run a open layout, of course, and you want to try and scry a good map onto dunes or jungle valley, because you have a lot of quantity, so you might drop your divination cards. Now what I want to do is I want to run the map, kill the boss, do all the Eater of World altars to press as much quantity as possible. Then after that, I want to run the abysses. One by one, we will kill everything, and we will use the spell mastery that when we cast a spell, the boxes, the horde that spawns from abyss will open, and we will loot everything that dropped from them. Now this is annoying because if you don't have a class that can cast spells or has access to the spell mastery, this build can this farm can be a bit very annoying to run, because you have to click all the hordes one by one, and this can be very annoying. Not to mention, at the end of the day, you'll have a lot of wrist pain. I have tried it, it was not pleasant. This is why I swapped to this character right here. He can run almost all the map modifiers except for 1 or 2. And of course, with this character, I have access to the spell mastery right here. When I want to farm abyss, I would just unspec those nodes, and I would spec them until I get the 25% chance for nearby chest to open when you cast a spell. Now for the strat, I have 2 Scarab setups for you. You can choose whichever makes you more comfortable. You either want to run 2 Scarabs of Risk that adds 4 modifiers to your map, 1 Scarab of Corruption for you to drop 8 mod corrupted maps, and another Scarab of Escalation for your maps to have a chance to be originator maps, and of course the Abyss Scarab of Edifice in order to spawn the Stygian Spire. And on the other set, if you do not want to drop maps, you don't really care about maps, what you want to do is run 3 Cartography Scarab of Risk that add 6 modifiers to your map, making it significantly harder, of course. You will be adding an Abyss Scarab for 2 additional abysses, so you will encounter more abysses in your map, and of course the Abyss Scarab of Edifice. Now, what's the difference between the 2 farms? On the first setup, I think it's easier than the second one, because of course you have 1 less risk Scarab. That's as a start. You'll be dropping a lot of maps, a lot of tier 17s, you'll be sustaining your tier 16.5s, but you'll be running less abysses, and of course this map will take less time. On this setup right here, this map will be harder. The potential jackpot drops will be higher because we have an additional 2 modifiers on the map, and you'll be encountering an additional abyss. So this map might be, I think, better in terms if you're aiming for a jackpot drop, maybe in a Korra's Lock, a mirror, or those very rare divination cards such as the Apothecary. However, I would suggest you go for this one because 8 modded maps will sell for a great price, and of course you'll be sustaining your tier 16.5s, and this is what counts because this farm is very nice in terms of sustain. Now as for the Atlas, We're looking at a pretty standard atlas with all the Scarab nodes, all the Quant nodes, and all the increased effect of explicit modifiers, except of course for Chisel's Perfection. We're blocking all the mechanics except Abyss, of course. Harvest has good Scarabs, and Ultimatum. We're trying to spawn Eater of World Altars for the Quant, and of course for a chance for this Divine Orb Altar. We're taking the Map Influence Memory chance to heighten our T16.5 drop chance, Angular Focus, and we're taking all the chances to spawn Abyss. We have 4 nodes here, and an additional node right here. Now I'm not taking the other Abyss nodes, I don't think they're very much worth it in my opinion. Now I have a suggestion for you. If you're farming only maps, what you want to do is you want to unspec the blocked mechanics right here and try to go for shaping the mountains, shaping the skies, and shaping the world. This will help a lot with, first of all, your regular tier 16 maps, and it will help a lot with your farming for tier 17s. So there's a setup for a lot more map drops, and there's a setup if you're just focusing on loot and raw currency and Scarabs. I will be linking both atlases in the description, in addition to my loot filter, of course. Now let's talk about the 25 sample size maps that I ran. Were a mix of dunes, jungle valley, simply what I had in my stash. I didn't bother buying some. And were like this one right here. They were not giga juiced. They had about 50% to 70% more Scarabs, currency, or maps. I didn't really take a lot of time in rolling them. I just ran whatever I had, and even not all of them were corrupted, so some had less modifiers. However, it didn't really matter. The return on investment was insane. I was taking about 10 minutes per map. However, in the last 5 maps, I included cartography Scarabs. For the first 20 maps, I was using this setup, and after that, I thought maybe I tried this one. And I think the first one is really better because I dropped a lot of tier 17s and they sustained my tier 16.5s. I mean, look at how many maps I dropped, only tier 17s from 5 maps. And look at how many tier 16.5s, of course. And I dropped a shit ton of Jungle Valley. I still have some right here, and I even have my map tab full of dunes. And of course I sold a bunch of them. I made 4 divines doing so. I sold each 20 maps for a divine, so that's an additional 80 maps that sold. Now let's talk about the currency drops. I dropped 11 divines, 3 voidborn keys, 1 sacred orb, 4 containment scarabs, 3 awakened scarabs, 10 Valdo puzzle boxes, 2 Sephiroth, because I think in the last 4 maps I scried Ivory Temple into dunes, so I dropped 2 Sephiroths, and we dropped as well a cheater card and a gem cutter's mercy. Of course, if I had bought the maps that are very good, the return would have been much better. Look at this map, for example, right here. It has a lot of quantity, a lot of scarabs, and a lot of currency chance. So I believe if we run this map, the drops will be insane. Now let's talk about how much this tab is worth. I've already uploaded to Whealty Exile, and we're looking at 75 divines. Of course, Whealty Exile does not include the originator maps, so be careful of that. So this tab is worth quite more. I would say around 80 divines. And of course, I need to re-mention that the maps that I ran weren't fully juiced. They were just whatever I had. Some of them weren't even 8 mod corrupted, some of them were jungle valleys, some of them were dunes. I didn't really pay too much attention to what I had. I just ran with whatever, and look at how much I made. Now let's talk about what a map like this will cost you. I don't think it really cost a lot. In terms of Scarab, these Scarabs that we use in both strats are very, very common. The most expensive out of them being the Cartography Scarab of Risks. You can get about 12 for a divine. which isn't really expensive in my opinion. If you're looking at what you're dropping, the cartography Scarab of Escalation is worth nothing, the corruption one is also worth nothing, and the Scarab of Edifice is also pretty much very cheap. Even the Abyss one right here, this is like nothing really. You want to craft on your map device Abyss. This is also not a lot, 5 chaos. So we're not talking much investment for the Scarabs and map device. However, your maps will cost you quite some currency. However, if you buy like a map like this one right here that has a more than 100% chance to drop more maps, if you buy like 3 of those, run them with this setup, and of course you will add to that your shaping the mountains, shaping the world, and shaping the sky nodes, you will generate a ton of map, enough to self-sustain you for a while, and then you'll continue running the maps that you personally drop. I don't think you're gonna be needing to buy a lot, and of course on the rare occasion you'll be dropping maps like these. This map right here can sell easily for 2 divines. You might want to run it, you might want to sell it, it's up to you. Remember, this strat is very hard to do, and of course you need a character that's close to the spellcasting mastery in order for this farm not to be very annoying. I think I said everything there is to say about this farm. If you have any questions, do not hesitate, leave them in the comments. I will try to answer everything as usual. I will leave a link for the atlases, for my loot filter down below. And as always, like if you like, subscribe if you want, and thank you for watching.